Okay, so now let's do some application. Try it number 2 on page 218. All right, letter A, we're in the key of A major, and so we have F sharp, C sharp, and G sharp. The first one in the soprano we have D to C sharp, and in the bass we have E to A. Now there's scale degrees in the bass, that's scale degree 5 to tonic, 5 to 1, dominant to tonic. And then we have in the soprano, we have scale degree, let's see if we're in the key of A, D is scale degree 4, C sharp is scale degree 3. The intervals are a seventh and a third. The seventh, right, so we have a seventh here, the interval of a seventh. It's a dominant seventh chord, if you look at the Roman numerals here, to a tonic. So our Roman numeral analysis is dominant seventh to tonic, 5-7 to 1. And we have, notice the motion in the bass line, it's 5, jumping up, leaping to the tonic. Okay, so letter B, let's see if we can do this here. We have, we're in the key of A still, we have a G sharp up to a D. G sharp to D, now that's a fifth. Well, what type of fifth? It's a diminished fifth. Now what do we do with diminished fifths? Okay, what do we do with the diminished fifth? Interval. Not a chord, this is an interval. Remember, we have to resolve it inward to a third. So the D comes down to C sharp, and the G sharp goes up to A, creating a third. Diminished fifth, if you have a diminished fifth, the next interval has to be a third. If we were to analyze the Roman numerals, we'd realize we'd have a dominant seventh chord in first inversion. E, G sharp, B, D. So we still have dominant to tonic chord progression. Because in letter B, the second half is A, is the tonic, and C sharp, that's the third of the tonic. So we have a dominant tonic chord progression, but it's not very strong because the dominant chord is a seventh chord in first inversion. Okay, if it was a seventh chord in root position, it'd be stronger, but it's a seventh chord in first inversion. Okay, letter C, we have a D up to a G sharp. What type of interval is that? It's a fourth, but it's a special fourth. It's an augmented fourth. Now what do we do with augmented fourths? We resolve them outwards to a sixth. So the G sharp has to go up to A and the D has to go down to C sharp. Now we have an interval of 6. Whenever you have an augmented fourth, the very next interval has to be a 6, and that's what we have here. If we were to look at the Roman numeral analysis, we'd realize we have a dominant seventh chord, but now it's in third inversion because the D is now on the bottom in the bass line. So if we were in the key of A, we have E, G sharp, B, D. The D is now in the bass, hence the third inversion, resolving to a tonic in first inversion. Okay? Tonic is A, C sharp, B, but the C sharp's in the bass, so it's tonic in first inversion. For letter D, let's look at the interval here. We have an E sharp to a B. What type of interval is that? Well, it's a fifth, but it's a special fifth. It's a diminished fifth. How do we resolve diminished fifths? We resolve them into a third. So now the B comes down to the A. The E sharp goes up to an F sharp, and we have a resolution of a third. And if we look at the Roman numerals, now notice we're in the key of F sharp minor now. F sharp minor is different, all right? So we look at F sharp minor, we see the E sharp and the B, and we realize we have a dominant chord, a dominant seventh chord in first inversion. Okay, so dominant seventh chord resolves to a tonic in root position. Letter E, we have B to E sharp. That's the interval of a fourth, but what type of fourth? An augmented fourth. How does it resolve? Outward to an interval of 6. So B goes down to A, E sharp goes up to F sharp. The chord progression, the Roman numerals, it's a dominant seventh chord. This time it's also in third inversion, but it's resolving to a tonic in first inversion. Letter F. We have a C sharp up to a B. That's a seventh. How does the seventh resolve again? It resolves to the interval of a third, remember? So the B goes down to A, the C sharp jumps up, it's going to leap up to the F sharp. Remember, we have a minor seventh chord, the bass is going to leap up to a seventh. Leap up to the tonic. So you have a dominant seventh chord in root position, leaping up to the tonic. Okay, so now I'm going to play some of these for you so you can hear what they sound like and get the sound into your mind and help build up a repertoire. So under try it number 2, I'm going to be playing these examples. Try it number 2, letter A, the first one. We're in the key of A major. Here's A major. The dominant, that's the tonic. It's the tonic. The dominant is E major. So dominant, tonic, dominant. All right, so the first letter A, the first measure there, we have a minor seventh interval. The the bass is going to go from here and leap up to the tonic. Dominant, tonic, sol, do. The soprano is going to move by step downward because we're creating the interval of a third. Here's what it sounds like. Alright, so minor seventh resolves into the interval of a third. Dominant, dominant seventh chord, tonic in root position. Alright, letter B. We have G sharp in the bass, D in the soprano. Diminished fifth. Hear that harsh sound? Diminished fifth has to resolve inward to the interval of a third. Letter C, we have an augmented fourth. Hear that harsh sound? Right? Augmented fourth has to resolve out to the interval of a sixth. Okay, now we're in the key of F sharp minor. F sharp minor. Here's our tonic. Okay, so here's our first measure, letter D. We have an E sharp with a D diminished fifth. Diminished fifth has to resolve inward to a third. So diminished fifth to a third. Letter E. B with E sharp. Augmented fourth has to resolve out. So there you go. Augmented fourth to a sixth. That doesn't always resolve a half step down. In this case, in letter E, the B is resolving a whole step down to the A. That's okay. Letter F, we have C sharp in the bass, B in the soprano, a minor seventh. Now the bass is going to leap up to the tonic, and the soprano is going to move down by step. So we have, notice the bass, sol, do. Now if you can start singing these in your head, it'll be easier for you to hear them when we get into more of a melodic dictation. Okay, so let's go to page 219. Okay, so on page 219, we have some, first of all, the key concept in two voice 18th century counterpoint scale degrees chosen from a melody and bass line at the cadence imply particular harmonies. Okay, so these harmonies are implied. You don't have them all fleshed out because you're just using two parts right now. But this is what they would be if they were filled in. Okay, so example 11.6, letter A, we have St. George's Windsor. Notice the cadence here. Again, we're in the key of F major, and the cadence is 5 to 1. Sol to do. Okay, root position. Sol, do, root position 5 to 1. Also for letter B, the same thing. We're in the key of G now, so D is the dominant, G is the tonic. Sol, do. This time it moves down, leaps down to the tonic. Letter C, again we have sol, do, the sol leaping up to do, and again they're all in root position. Under example 11.7, here's some cadences in the bass line. You can look over them. Some different types you can use. Notice the dominant chord is always in root position. If I were you, I'd play through them, sing them, try to get them into your head. These are different types. Now, one thing, letter A, they are the conclusive cadences, the strongest types of cadences you can use. If you want something not as strong, you can go to letter B, and here's some options for you. Notice the dominant chord is not in root position anymore. It's inverted. It's in first inversion in these examples here. So notice when your dominant chord's been inverted, your cadence is not as strong. For letter C, you have inconclusive cadences. That means they don't sound finished, and that's when you end on the dominant instead of the tonic. So you switch it around, you now have the dominant as your ending of your cadence, and that's not a conclusive cadence.